What's up, Bigger Pockets? Today we're going to talk about hiring a property manager, why and how to do it from a guy who has only had to do this once because I got it right. What's up, I'm Dave, and I first should probably start off by saying, yes, I got it right and I got lucky. However, I did do a lot more preparation for my interviews with these property managers, and I turned down two before finding the one that I wanted. So I say lucky. Ultimately, there was some work that went into that, and so I'm hoping to help you avoid the headache of hiring a new property manager. But first, why should you hire a property manager? To manage your properties. And I know that sounds funny. Well, of course, use the definition to define the definition. Yeah, okay, got it. If you have the right personality to manage a property and you're detail-oriented and you can be confrontational and you take the time to screen your tenants and understand the tenant laws, then yeah, self-managing will save you a little bit of money. But if you don't have that personality and you're anything like me, where you're just a big picture guy without the details, you don't like confrontation, you want people to like you, like property management is going to be really difficult for you, and I don't think it's worth the little bit of money that you're going to save because of all the headaches, and you're going to probably spend more money than that on tenants you should have evicted that you didn't, or tenants you allowed to stay in your place that you shouldn't have, and all of these other issues that a professional property manager will help you avoid. I have had some really interesting issues with previous employees coming back to some of my mixed-use buildings, trespassing, kind of run the gauntlet over the last 7 years of investing in real estate. I wouldn't have known what to do with half of that crap, and it would have stressed me out, and I would not have enjoyed it, and I might not even be investing in real estate anymore if it weren't for the fact that my property manager handles all of it, and I might get 1 or 2 phone calls a month, and that's my involvement. So that's the why, right? It alleviates the stress, alleviates you having to know all the local laws, and in theory, it makes your life really easy. There are horror stories about property managers, so you're gonna wanna do an interview, and you're gonna wanna make sure that you actually ask them the right questions, pay attention to some things, and just make sure that you are adequately researching before you hire someone. A couple of things. The first thing is, when you go to meet with this property manager, get a copy of the agreement that you would be signing between you and them and take it home. And the reason I say take it home is for twofold. One, you actually want to read it, and you probably want to do that without them there. That way you can highlight all your questions and just see if it's even worth continuing without them being able to be like, oh yeah, no, don't worry about that. Trust me. 2, you're going to want to interview more than one property manager, and you're going to want to be able to compare and contrast. So you're going to want 2 or 3 of these management agreements at your house so that you can peruse them and see what really racks and stacks to help you out. How do you find this property manager? As always, I definitely recommend a real estate investor association, local meetups, local Facebook groups, or really just any way you can talk to local investors and ask them who they're using to manage their properties. If you get the same answer from 5 or 10 people, that company probably isn't too bad. Now, if you get 5 answers from 5 people, okay, well, interview all 5 of them because, or ask them how much they like that person. And 1 or 2 of them will probably say, well, I'm thinking about moving somewhere else or whatever, and then you can whittle it down from there. The other investors is always my favorite go-to networking way to get this answer. But alternatively, you can go look at reviews on Google. You can go call a bunch of people and talk to them and figure out what makes sense. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure you sit down and actually talk to them. So one of the first things you want to know is, are they licensed, right? Like, do they have the legal, required, it's not just some person who manages properties on the side. This is a legitimate business. They have insurance. You're going to want to know how long they've been in business, and not necessarily on their own, but in the business of property management. So the manager that I currently use had been a property manager for 20, 25 years with a massive construction company in town. That company split ways and it didn't dissolve, but they didn't need her anymore because it became 2 companies and whatever. And so she started her own property management company. So when I came on, it was the first or second year of her being in business as a property manager for herself, but she'd been in the business for 20, 25 years and was very experienced, as well as being a real estate agent on the local ethics committee. So she, at least theoretically, is ethical. So you want to know how long they've been in business, how many properties are you currently managing, and what types of properties. If all of their properties are apartments and you only have single families, maybe it's not the best fit. Vice versa, if all their properties are single family and you're throwing triple net leases their way, might not be the best fit. So you want to make sure that they have a good mix of similar properties to what you're wanting to buy. And then you want to know how many properties, right? If they have 10 properties under management and they've been in business for 10 years, they might not be that good. If they have been in business for 1 year and they have 2,000 doors under management, they're growing really fast. You want to make sure they have the team to handle that. And you're going to want to talk to them about what their goals are, because if this company is trying to rapidly expand, you want to know that just so you understand, is their team growing? Are their services going to suffer? But vice versa, if you're looking to rapidly expand and they're not, then are you going to outgrow that property management company? These are just normal conversational things. What services do you offer, right? A good property manager is going to do rent collection, evictions, maintenance, repairs, updates, upkeep, landscaping, all of the things, right? It should be an all-in-one shop. Ask them if they're an investor, right? I mean, do they know what they're doing? Do they actually invest themselves? But also, you want to make sure making sure that there's not a conflict of interest there. What's the average vacancy rate for them and their properties? Just understanding how long does it actually take you to get a space rented once it goes empty? What's the turnover time? How quickly are these things moving? Because that vacancy time is probably the number one killer in your deals. Do you collect a management fee when the unit is vacant? Now, I've seen this before, and you do not want to pay this. You only want to be paying that percentage off gross rent collected, because if you're paying 7% of whatever that gross rent should be, even if it's vacant, then there's not an incentive for them to fill your vacancies. You want it to be incentivized so that they only make money when you're making money. So they should only earn that percentage of gross rent when there is a tenant and it is rent collected. Under what conditions can you cancel your management agreement, right? Most places it's a 30-day written notice. You just want to know this so that if it's not working out, you don't get stuck in some crazy legal battle and it's easy for you to say, hey, I'm going to go a different direction, find another property manager. Ask them what kind of reporting they do. Is it monthly reporting, annual reporting, quarterly reporting, weekly reporting, right? Just make sure that it fits what you're comfortable with and understand what that ledger looks like. Also ask them if they will pay your other bills, right? Like my property manager pays my mortgages, pays my insurance, pays my utilities, pays everything and puts it all on the ledger so that it all comes out of that account. All I ever see is the true cash flow plus CapEx budget. All right, what's been your biggest mistake as an investor or business owner? I just like to ask this to see what they say. There's not really I just want to know that this person's willing to admit that they've made mistakes and have conversations about it, right? That's what I'm looking for here. Hiring a property manager isn't that complicated. These are 10 different questions. I'm sure there's a million other questions that you could ask. These are 10 questions that will help you sort out that right person. Now, here are some other things that you're going to look for, right? You go in, you do this interview, you get the tour. Personality-wise, I think the best property managers are a little abrasive, right? If they're super friendly people persons, I would worry that they will be less firm when they need to be. You're going to want somebody who's a little bit abrasive and able to say no and keep tenants in line and actually hold the line of the law, right? Make sure you know what other fees they have on top of their percentage. I mentioned before that there were 2 other property managers that I didn't choose. One of those, I walked in, the office was very clean, they were very friendly, everybody was smiley and happy, and the office seemed very streamlined and everything felt really good until I took that packet home and I was looking at it and I realized hey, this guy charges 10%. Okay, that's kind of the going rate of gross rent collected. Actually, no, his was gross rent and it even said assumed rent. So I would have been paying even if it was vacant. But then they also charged the first full month's rent up front, as well as marketing costs for getting the unit full and a bunch of other stuff. And basically what I realized is these guys are going to be super, super expensive. I mean, I know that in some markets it's the norm to pay half month's rent up of the first lease or full month's rent or whatever. Just realize that if you're doing that and you have a vacancy, that's immediately 1 out of 12 months that you're vacant. They could fill the vacancy the next day, and it doesn't matter if you're paying the first month's rent to the property manager, it might as well be vacant. So that means that every time there's a turnover, you're going to be guaranteed at least 1 full month of no cash flow. Not cool by my books. So my current property manager, I cover the marketing and any other turnover costs associated with that, but I don't have to pay them a piece of the first month's rent. I get all of it because that's my rental income and I'm covering all of their expenses and time. And that to me is much more reasonable. So just make sure you're weighing the different costs, right? Property managers do not have to be exorbitantly expensive. I personally pay 7% because I got someone when they were first starting off. I've brought them a lot of business and we have a really good relationship. 8 to 12% is kind of the norm. And then there shouldn't be a ton of other hidden fees in there. Also, you're going to want to make sure on the maintenance side, what are the costs if somebody just goes out to look at something? What services are they able to cover? Because if they don't cover plumbing, maybe you should look into some plumbers yourself just to compare costs and make sure that their plumber's not way more expensive. And just make sure that you're getting the good deal there. But ultimately, for me, it boils down to the people, right? Making sure the person is the right kind of person to be able to be firm and hold the line and do the right thing at all times and manage your properties morally, ethically, and firmly without giving the tenants too much grace to run all over you. That's pretty much me. I mean, you're paying them to manage the properties, not to be best friends with the tenants, right? But you shouldn't be paying them way more than they're worth. Not to say that they're not worth it, but make sure that your properties are still profitable. If your property management is eating all of your cash flow, then it's probably worth trying to self-manage for yourself for a little while. I have some friends who manage 5, 10, 20 properties on their own. I also have some friends who did that for a while and then scaled it into their own property management business as their company grew because they were like, wow, I have so many doors, I might as well do this full time for other people too. So there are options there. Just make sure you have the right personality for that before you go out and give it a shot. Now, if you got something out of this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and if you got questions on anything else regarding property management and finding property managers, leave the comment down below. We'll make another video. Have a great day.